It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
Baseball.
Oh, the hot stove. We can finally fire this up. There's a legit hot stove burner to fire up here on the SKOR North Twins Show. I have to kill the intro when I play the hot stove burner from home, but that's okay.
I question the validity of this spicy rumor. I will just throw that out there. I question the validity,
let's hear it
but
first.
I'm excited to talk about it.
Let's hear it first.
Very excited to talk about this. By the way, Twinsfest, what Judd is super excited for, is this Saturday. You can go to the SKOR North app. You can register for a chance to win a couple pair of tickets in the Listener Awards tab. Go get some great autographs. See Sports Dad slouched over, maybe looking for his cards. Judd, if you see any cards, let me know.
Are you going
to be there?
I got a little tip here for this. First of all, yes, I will. It's always a great time. In these what used to be the Delta Sky Club, there is a baseball card show. It's not huge, but it's got some good stuff.
Yeah.
But here's the secret. Downstairs in the basement, they have a bunch of like bobbleheads and merchandise that must go. That is discounted deeply. The line is long. The worth is weight. It is worth it.
The card show is like vendors. The worth is weighted 100%.
The worth is weighted. God, yeah. I'm cracking up.
Are these so like
can't help it? Yeah.
The bobbleheads in the bowels of Twinsfest. This is like Twins stuff that they're trying to offload.
Yep. The Twins. I think it's in. It might be in like the wives' room. They set up a basically.
Hey guys,
clearance
I'm looking
sale.
for.
Yeah.
Look.
Hey, Mrs. Buxton, have you seen the bobblehead of your husband?
They set up this great
Chris Colabello cowbells.
I'm telling you right now, if you want some discounted merchandise of some stadium giveaway things, very, very nice down there.
Yeah, it is. I'll say, as you know, the vibes surrounding the Twins have not been the best the last 3 or 4 months, but Twinsfest is always a good time. They do a great job. I think the Metrodome version of it was interesting because it was all just like a massive. They just turned the whole field into.
It was a perfect setting for it. You're right.
But this is kind of you get to bounce around to different portions of Target Field, and hopefully the sun's shining as you look out.
And just remember, Sports Dad found a Jorge Polanco picture, real nice one, last year for a huge discount. And Sports Dad told you, I think he's gone. And then sure enough, in January.
Oh, so you can tell. So if there's Willie Castro discounted stuff, you know that.
I'm not joking.
Chris Paddock.
They tell them, get rid of this.
Chrisitan Vazquez. Portions go to pay off a portion of his contract, which the Twins might have to eat.
The worth is weighted. Where did that come from?
You might need some more coffee this morning.
We're starting earlier than usual. Or a trip to the doctor. Can't decide which one. Let's see. Coffee 911. Coffee 911.
SKOR North app, Listener Awards, Twinsfest tickets.
Yes.
So late last night, Dan Hayes, Dennis Lynn of The Athletic put out this little article. Twins Padres trade talks have focused on Chrisitan Vazquez. So the Twins and Padres have spoken about a potential trade that would send veteran Chrisitan Vazquez to San Diego. League sources told The Athletic. No deal was considered imminent, but there appeared to be motivation on both sides to continue talking, which is not a surprise. Twins have looking to shop Vazquez. He earns a lot of money. San Diego needs catching help. There's a lot of layers there to get in there. However, also in this article, in the very next paragraph, the Twins, meanwhile, would like to reallocate resources and are among the teams with interest in San Diego's top starting pitcher, Dylan Cease, according to league sources.
Speculation.
So Dylan Cease, in the last year of his deal before hitting free agency, he is scheduled to make $13.7 million this season. The Padres are actually in a very similar situation as the Twins. They're looking to shed salary. They haven't made any moves this offseason. They've struck out on some big-time free agents. Also in this article talking about Cease, the Twins are among the multiple teams that have expressed interest in acquiring Cease, who has a pair of top 4 Cy Young Award finishes in the past 3 seasons. The right-hander would provide a good Twins rotation with outstanding if short-term upgrade, but the sides might not find common ground in a package. The Twins would prefer to provide a value-laden package to replenish the Padres' depth as opposed to the higher upside talent like Preller, the Padres GM, likes to hunt for.
Interesting. Okay. So
Reckless speculation.
I know you were tweeting about some potential comps here, which we should get to, but just I don't know how they would pull this off because this is a high wire act of they are trying to not add payroll. In fact, according to pretty much everybody who's reported on their payroll situation, they'd like to cut more payroll before the season starts. So how do you balance that with bringing on $13.5 million of Dylan Cease? But then on the flip side, it's like, okay, if you could get Dylan Cease even for a year, you would have, I don't think you have a Dodgers level rotation, but you would have a top 5-ish rotation in baseball.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Cease would be your number one starter. And then Pablo Lopez, who's been 2 years ago, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball. And if he can kind of get back to that. So, like, that 1-2 punch is among the best. And then Bailey Ober and his emergence and Joe Ryan before the injury. And then my guess is Simeon Woods Richardson would round it out with some depth like Zebby Matthews, et cetera. But, like, if you could pull this off, you would have a badass starting rotation. But to me, like, we were talking off microphone, and maybe this would be like separate deals or something. If you're acquiring Dylan Cease and sending out Chrisitan Vazquez, okay, if you're like looking at the value scale, well, those are two things that are good for the Twins. Maybe the Padres look at Vazquez as some catching depth, but like the Twins need to put way more on that scale in terms of talent and value going back to the Padres, or if it's a 3-team trade, there has to be a lot more outgoing than obviously just Chrisitan Vazquez.
And according to what was written there that Declan just read, the other thing is the Padres would be asking for, I think, a top prospect for sure.
Even for 1 year of Cease. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's my question. So the Vazquez thing sends $10 million to the Padres. To Declan's point, Cease is at 13.7 for this season. Okay. So the Twins obviously would want to shed the 10 completely. So they wouldn't pick up part of that. Because like the incentive would be to say, hey, we'll pay a big portion of the Vazquez salary, we'll take Cease, but in this case, that's not going to happen. So
yeah,
if you just include, I mean, in some ways, Vazquez is the garbage going out as well. So my question is, what's the trade? What do the Padres? Where do they start? Because the Twins have not exactly been eager to give up top prospects continually, but they have done it on occasion.
Yeah. Are there? Like, what are the comps? Like, are there, because this is 1 year of a high-end starter that helps you win baseball games in 2025, but he's going to be 29 years old when he hits the free agency market. He's going to go to market. Are you going to be the team that puts a $35 million a year on the table?
It's a 1 year.
I mean, it'd be a 1 year rental. Yeah,
yes,
it'd be a
1 year rental.
Be a 1 year rental for a team that we could argue is not ready to bring on a 1 year rental to win the World Series, unless everyone is healthy on the offensive side. But what are there comps for this, Dex?
So the Corbin Burns trade a year ago with Milwaukee and Baltimore. So, and I tweeted this out knowing that, look, Baltimore's prospect system, farm system last year was loaded. It still kind of is loaded. So they gave up the following for 1 year of Corbin Burns. They gave up Joey Ortiz, who was the 63rd best prospect in baseball, and he was Baltimore's 6th best organizational prospect. That's insane.
That shows how loaded their system is.
Yeah. Like they had their 6th best prospect was still the 63rd best prospect in all of baseball. That's
crazy.
Nuts. They also gave up DL Hall, who was a pitcher who had graduated from prospect status. He though was like a fringe. He was a 80th overall prospect the year before in Baltimore's system, and they gave up a 2024, stick with me here, competitive balance round A draft pick, which is, in translation, the 35th overall draft pick.
It's like end of the first round.
Yep.
Like a first round pick, basically. Okay.
So for a loaded Baltimore system, now I will say the Twins do have a very good farm system. They gave up their 6th best prospect, a former top prospect, and a high-end draft pick to acquire what was their staff ace, who then eventually walked away from them in free agency. And also, I would argue, Baltimore probably should have re-signed Corbin Burns. Baltimore is not screwed this year without Corbin Burns. that goes to show how good their farm system is at developing and replenishing, and they still have a really good team. So if you're looking at this at the Twins side, I think you can safely say Walker Jenkins off the table. I would even say Emmanuel Rodriguez, who just graduated, I think, into also one of the best prospects in baseball. They just came out this yesterday. I think he is even off the table. So basically, if you're San Diego and if you're looking to basically get things that you want now, I think it's probably like a Luke Keyshaw is the top end prospect that the Twins would give up. And then I'd also say if you're acquiring pitching depth, or if you're acquiring an ace, San Diego's going to want a pitcher back. And to me, David Festa would be involved in that trade.
Okay.
Like if you're looking at your Twins rotation right now, is David, and I'm asking this rhetorically with a little bit of condescending nature, is David Festa better than any of the four guys above him in the Twins rotation right now? The answer is no. So you can give up David Festa, still have Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, Simeon Woods-Richardson is pretty solid still. He will compete for a spot. I think there's some type of trade that is Luke Keyshaw and David Festa, and probably also something else, maybe like a 10th to 15th best prospect in baseball going to San Diego. I think a framework like that is at least intriguing. There you go.
Blow it up. Blow it up.
Speculation.
I would not object one bit. And I know it's a rental, but here's my thing. I think from both a ball club standpoint and a business standpoint, that type of trade would create some buzz, excitement for sure. And I know that you should ordinarily never do things on sports based on like more buzz or how can we get, more tickets sold. But when you look at what the Twins are up against right now, I mean, they're not a terrible team, but it's sort of just very flatlining. Like, I just feel like there's nothing, there's bitterness towards the poll ads, but there's no excitement. I think a Dylan Cease trade changes that. I also think, and again, this is probably not a great baseball practice, but it's a business practice, is you are at some point very soon here going to be trying to sell subscriptions to your channel to watch games, right? So do I think the Twins are going to make this trade? Because I would guess that there's going to be quite a few teams that are intrigued by Cease, some of whom will offer as good a package or in some cases perhaps better than the Twins. No, I don't think the Twins will get him. Do I think that this makes sense to explore very heavily? Yes, absolutely. I just found it a little bit funny when I saw the story for the first time last night that it was like Chrisitan Vazquez is on the table. It's like, okay. Yeah, let's go back and redo that. Like, it's fine. You want to dump him. I get that. And the Padres definitely do need catching depth. Well, that's a small trade. But I think that this makes a lot of sense. And as Declan explains it from a trade standpoint too, yes, you're giving up guys that you probably like, but your farm system's deep. You've done a good job there. And this would give you a heck of a rotation. And Pablo then is probably not your opening day starter. It's Dylan Cease.
Yeah, I would look at this the way that Judd did too, which is, okay, this is as apathetic and uninterested and maybe angry as this fan base has been compared to where it was 15 months ago too, which we've hammered on this podcast, probably too much even. But if you make a trade like this where you're because you'd be giving away 6 years of Luke Keyshaw, who's like Dex said, he's one of your top 3 or 4 prospects and probably ready to make his major league impact in 2025 and a couple other things. Ideally, you'd be getting a couple years of team control on the pitcher that you'd be getting back. But man, like, we can't sit here for years and months and talk about the Twins never making that move at the trade deadline or very rarely making that big splash in the offseason. Correa, awesome. Although that kind of fell in their lap after 2 medical teams from the Mets and the Giants, dictated what was going to happen. And also, if you look at, like, I'm on one of the sports books right now, the American League Central over-under win totals, it's 4 teams jammed together right now. It is Twins 83.5, Tigers 83.5, Guardians 82.5, Royals 82.5. So those 14 and the poor White Sox.
What are the,
51 and a half.
I thought I was going to say, is it 49, 51? Oh my God.
It's hilarious. That's 10 more wins than last year for them. So they got that going for them. But Dylan Cease at his best is like a 6 or 7 wins above replacement pitcher. And even last year he was like 4.5 wins above replacement. And you can make an argument that the fifth starter that you would be bumping out and putting Dylan Cease on top is like maybe a little bit above a replace. So you might be going from just analytically a replacement-ish level number 5 starter to a Cy Young Award candidate. And boom, like that projection would go from Twins in the mix with the other 3 to Twins definitively 3 or 4 wins projected better at the top of the division. Would just boom. And you know what? If Luke Keeschall blows up and becomes an awesome player for the Padres, you have to kind of build your system so that you can absorb that and live with that to make your on-field product better. This is the type of move, ironically, that the Padres make in reverse all the time. They go get the Dylan Cease. They go get the Juan Soto for a minute, and then they move off these guys if they have to or if they feel like they need to reset. And because the Padres are so active doing stuff like this in reverse of what we're talking about, guess what? 40,000 people show up to every game because it feels like they're trying to win something big. So I don't know, man. If we're talking about an Orioles type package that Declan just laid out, I'm in. I don't care if he's a 1-year rental. I'm in.
Yeah. And look, the Twins have done a very good job. As much as people have hammered them for not developing. Where's this Falvey pitching pipeline? They've developed Bailey Ober. They acquired Joe Ryan. They acquired Pablo Lopez. They have developed now David Festa, and Simeon Woods Richardson was acquired from them. They have either acquired or developed pitching. They have. They've done a really good job. Dylan Cease would be the latest example of that too. So I don't think you would be if Festa and Keeschall hit their even 80th percentile. Okay. I can live with that because also the Twins have better resources behind them, and they've done a pretty good job at developing those. And do not give me the 2022 Reds trade deadline as the excuse of why you shouldn't do something, because the Twins were just fine from that as well. Let Spencer Steer be all right in Cincinnati. It's all good. The Twins end up still winning their division the next year. They still end up with Carlos Correa. I would be totally okay with parting with a Keeschall and Festa if it meant just 1 year of Dylan Cease.
Is the March 2022 trade with the Reds, though, the precedent for why this has a chance to take place? The Sonny Gray trade, the Twins spun off their 2021 first-round pick, pitcher Chase Petty, in that trade. And that's a very sort of unlike, oh, my God, you don't trade prospects. Well, in that case, that was a guy that you had just drafted in the first round. So, like, would that be the precedent if we're going to potentially say, the Twins, they won't make that trade. They never make that trade. Is that the potential example of, no, they actually do occasionally? Because it feels like an apples to apples comparison in some ways, but in this case, Cease, I think, is a more known commodity than Gray was at that time. So, like, I think you could justify saying, no, the Twins actually going into a season have made a trade like this. Gray, I think, had a couple years left at the time.
He had
so
two,
the contracts,
2 years of team.
Right, but still, he was not signed for the long term. The other thing that I would say too that we have to factor in a bit is if this team's truly going to be sold by opening day and the sales official by June, okay, things could change. Like we don't know that Dylan Cease, if he's acquired, cannot be signed. I mean, if the Ishbias buy this team, they could greenlight it. So there is a certain excitement, I think, that's being just forgotten now because we're all pissed off at the poll ads. A certain potential excitement for what the future could bring, but you definitely don't know and can't say for sure, hey, if you trade a lot to get Cease, it's a year and he's gone. Well, if the right people buy the team, that might change as well.
I'll throw this in too, that they've got the Twins have their top 10 list of prospects. The top 4 are position players, and a couple of these guys might just be blocked for the next, like Kalen Culpepper, for instance, was their first round pick like 2 or 3 years ago. Yep. 22 years old. He's still an A-ball, so he's probably he's not going to make his debut in 2025. But you're a shortstop, former first round pick. Well, Brooks Lee's a shortstop. Carlos Correa is still under contract for a few years in his prime. I know there's injury questions. He's a shortstop. Royce Lewis is an infielder that is going to be here for a long time. Edward Julian, I know there's been questions, but like Edward Julian was one of your best players not that long ago, and he's a young infielder. So they do have us, and then even the outfield, it's like, all right, right now you got Matt Wallner, who you love probably for the next few years. Walker Jenkins and Emmanuel Rodriguez. Luke Keyshaw can play some different spots. So they've prospects. I think the Twins have leaned on prospects being like, we need to wait for them to help our big league club, and then there's a hit rate on those. But before that happens, like the Twins, I don't think over the last 20 years have been aggressive enough treating them as trade chips to take a good team and make it great. And Judd laid out like they did with Sonny Gray, and there's other examples. I'm not saying it never happened.
But not a ton. No, you're right. You're right.
But if you can take a team that up until their meltdown in September was like on the verge of maybe doing something, and a team that's projected right now in the sports books to be right there winning the division, and you can put one of the best pitchers in baseball on top, that's the type of, that's where you use your prospects as trade chips.
Absolutely. If you could, please, on this glorious Reckless Speculation Thursday, provide me cover, because I'm about to ask Declan a question.
Reckless speculation.
Among the permeations of this potential trade, could Brooks Lee be involved?
Ooh. I mean, that would Brooks Lee would be the headliner, and then like you wouldn't give up Keyshaw. No. I don't even think you give up Festa.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Could Brooks Lee be involved?
He could be if the organization doesn't love him, if they don't feel like he's actually going to hit his ceiling. And you know, I think there was like rumbling. I don't know if they loved his preparation last year either. There was some weird things there. He also like admitted on Inside Twins last week that like my back, like I'm just going to have to deal with this, which to me, I'm like, if you're 24 years old and you're admitting like I'm going to have back problems and I'm the organization hearing that, I don't want to deal with that. They purposely didn't have, I remember when they had this roundtable early last year when Lee was out with the injury, they elected not to have surgery because they didn't want to have reconstructive back surgery. It's like a 16-month recovery. And they said, we're not going to do that, which I thought, well, why don't you just eat this year and let him come back, which he would be on track to come back this summer from that. Now you're like kind of dealing with the back surgery, back issue for the rest of your career? Answer your question, Judd. I wouldn't be shocked at it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, then in a couple of years, Kalen Culpepper or Luke Keyshaw, like they've got a pot of young players at these positions. So I have a random twin of the week for you guys.
Do it. If
you're ready to do a battle to the death of Twins history. Presented by Kieran's, Declan.
Yes.
This random twin.
That's right. Let's Dylan Cease gets to town. Dylan, let's go to Kieran's there. Let's go steps away from Target Field, Target Center. Derek Falvey, if you want to discuss a trade maybe later this weekend with Judd and I after he gets his bobbleheads, we'll meet you at Kieran's. Steps away from Target Center, Target Field. Great pours, great pub food, game day specials for Timberwolves, and when Twins games also start, go to Kieran's Irish Pub.
Okay, it's time for the random twin of the week here. It's my turn to throw out clues. Last week, Declan correctly guessed Denny Hocking. Prior to that, Gio Urshela, he's a lucky fella. And the Yankees lead 4-1. Kyle Farmer, Jock Jones, Donnie Barrels, Joe Mays. Let's see, I have 25 all-time wins. Declan, 23 closing in. Judd with 19. So I'll throw out a bunch of clues. You guys get up to 3 incorrect guesses each. If one of you hits a third strike, the other one wins automatically. You can't Google, but you may Control F search to see if we've done players in the past so you don't guess them. Here we go. It's going to come out hot here. This random twin, after his career was over, received 0.2% of the Hall of Fame votes. 0.2%.
Who didn't vote for him?
One Hall of Fame vote?
How many writers are there? Like 600?
I think we're down to 3 something now.
When it was.
Oh.
Now it's like 395 or something.
Which is
okay.
Way too many still.
Well, let's just say like of 500.
I was fine with it. I got the question.
It was 0.02. Yeah, well, it would have been like a handful of votes. More than one vote,
Sure.
according to my math.
Okay.
Or wait, maybe not actually. No, I just did two. No, it would have been like one vote.
I'm fine.
Someone voted for him.
I'm good to go. Next question.
His best season in the major leagues was 8.7 wins above replacement.
Take a guess.
His work.
Oh God.
Johan Santana.
I think he got more than 0.2%.
You didn't get a lot.
No.
He
No.
should be straight up in, but
Well, that's all. Yeah, we've talked about that.
Okay.
his worst season was -1 wins above replacement. It's a pretty wide range of value.
Okay.
This random twin was named in the Mitchell report. The Mitchell report, for the audience, was that report 89 former and current MLB players at the time were named as using performance-enhancing substances. In fact, someone asked him about it, and he said, I did HGH. It didn't help me out. It didn't make me any better. I had the worst years of my career from a batting average standpoint. And I got hurt, so there was no good that came out of it for me. It was not performance enhancing for me.
So I'm a Hall of Famer. So I should be in the Hall of Fame.
I will say that I don't know that the Mitchell report inclusion is what keeps him out of the Hall of Fame.
It's the -1 WAR.
His career WAR was definitely not -1, but yeah, when he was bad, he was bad.
Yeah.
In high school, he missed his senior season due to a broken leg, but he cheered from the bench, according to the internet, as the team won the state championship without him.
Just like a mascot.
It's a good teammate.
Done this guy? We have done this guy. I almost threw out a guess.
Oh, -1. 8.7.2%. So what twins were named in the Mitchell report?
Yeah, I almost threw out a guess. We already.
The Mitchell report was not binding, right? Like was that the one Ortiz was in?
I think it was, yeah.
But
Eric
he was never.
Gagne,
Yeah.
Andy Pettit, Roger
We've
Clemens
done Matt
was in it.
Lawton.
We've done Brett Boone.
This random twin is a 4-time World Series champion. And I don't know if you guys got around to, Declan especially would love this on Netflix, I believe, the Ken Golden Auctions docuseries.
Oh.
It's like 2 seasons, and it's all about valuable baseball cards and memorabilia and everything. And a couple of years ago, I saw that they were running an auction on one of his World Series rings.
Oh, so he's broke too.
Or he's just generous. Maybe he just wants to.
No, he's not generous. No,
he doesn't
no,
need
no,
all
no.
4. He's just.
4-time World Series champion.
Yep.
Wait.
Hold on a
Wait.
second.
Wait.
Wait.
Is this Chuck Knobloch?
Chuck Knobloch is correct.
Oh, wow.
Chuck Knobloch.
That quote. I don't know why, but that really stuck. I was like, I have
Nice
heard
work.
that before.
Chuck Knobloch. Yeah, he won one World Series with the Twins in '91. And that, we think of his Yankees career as this gigantic embarrassment because he got the throwing yips in 2000. But he was a key member of 3 consecutive championships. I mean, he had like big home runs in the playoffs. He hit for power.
He was a hell of a player.
He really was. He was worth 46 wins above replacement in his career. And the cutoff for position players that would get you consideration among like analytical writers is like 45 or 50 and above gets you a discussion. If he hadn't fallen off a cliff toward the end of his career, if he puts together like 3 or 4 more years and doesn't get the yips and become a punchline, he legitimately might have been a Hall of Famer with the Yankees pedigree too and all that stuff.
And the stolen base total, was it 95? He had just went off stolen base wise.
Yeah. I think
He's a really good player.
He had 400 stolen bases.
In the 90s, in the mid 90s, the 3 best second basemen in baseball were Carlos Baerga of Cleveland, Knobloch, and
Alomar was in that
and
mix.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So congratulations to old Dex Tweets. Back-to-back wins, pulls within one of the all-time random Twin of the Week lead. Awesome stuff. Let's get Dylan Cease in here. Come on.
Please.
make
That'd be
that.
great. Please do. Please come to the Twins. Hit the like button, subscribe button. Any extra innings content, might see some sprinkles of that, maybe even this weekend here on the YouTube page. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, our podcast feed too. Appreciate you guys. The SKOR North Twin Show.